to the other communities, not only in Soweto, but also international. Finally, we can be able to showcase our cultural richness by utilizing the infrastructure that we have, but also by improving the things that we have in Gauteng in order to attract other, to attract the world and to attract other businesses in terms of investment. So today plays a critical role in driving economic growth to Soweto. We should make sure that whatever opportunity we have to, to close potential deals, to close any transaction that will improve our economy, it's done today. It is important that we discuss, we network, and we make sure that whatever little knowledge that we get today, it is part of your own investment as a person, but also we want people to commit, investors to commit, and make sure that they improve the infrastructure, safety and security, and other trade investment opportunities that are there. I would like to invite all of us to work together and build a brighter future for the world and also for our Soweto community. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to have a little bit of a fight with, who you are that's giving me all the notes, because I can't stand here and call out names that are not true. I apologize, my sister. I didn't think you looked like Estembiso. All right, as we continue, I've just done the most incredible thing. I like to make notes and now I lose them. Our next speaker is somebody for whom I've held a great level of admiration for a long time because, as you know, we all are mentioning how tourism is an important economic driver, but it's very important that we drill down to what opportunities actually exist for those of us who are looking to get into the sector, or for some of us who may not even know that this is a sector that attracts us. And I think that it takes somebody who's been there, who's walked the journey, to be able to inform us appropriately. It's a reminder of the objectives of the Soweto Investment Conference: to attract investors, to identify investment opportunities, to improve brand perception. I don't think Soweto's brand needs to be improved, though. I think Soweto is doing very well. To match investor with investee opportunities, SMME development, job creation, destination development, as well as marketing. Please, please, let us give a warm round of applause as we welcome, for a message of support from Soweto, the chairperson, Mr. Thulani Nzima.
Program Director, thank you very much. I think I need to adjust this one. You're the closest to me in terms of height. Yeah, here we go. Thank you so much. I must say up front that, Carol, you got me a little bit nervous because you caught me off guard. I didn't know that you had done some research on me, and you know some of the background that I don't often talk about, and not for anything but humility, and not to appear like I'm walking in the shadow of my Brasem. I was actually being reprimanded that I call him Brasem all the time. I also want to announce to you, because you were making a statement about Mandela and that people have to create stories of their own, that finally the Sam Zima Foundation has completed the documentary of Sam Zima, the man behind the picture of Hector Peterson. So we are going to share and showcase that with the people. But the risk with this kind of information is that there are so many stories about him, and people know him differently, just as they do with Mandela. Thank you so much. In view of the time that we've got now, I'll try and paraphrase my speech. But let me explain my role here and why Tato wanted me to speak today. I come from Soweto. It's an acronym for the South African Villages and Tourism Association. It is an umbrella body to which the Soweto tourism is affiliated to. We are represented across the rest of South Africa. So Tato asked me to speak specifically, actually, to set the tone. And in setting the tone, I will have failed in my job if I don't provoke you, if I don't irritate you, if I don't tell the truth as Tato would have loved for us to tell it. Protocol is going to be very difficult now, but let me acknowledge ubukhosi omntungwa abakhona la endlini, and assume that protocol is observed for the rest of us. Congratulations to the Soweto tourism for pulling this event together. Attracting investment into township and villages is not an easy thing, but it is critical and important. And for pulling together the caliber of people that I see in this room is quite commendable. I think the dichotomy of investment, especially in areas such as ours, lies in the definition of how people see investment. I'll give you a layman's definition, not necessarily an Oxford Dictionary's definition of an investment. An investment risk can be defined as the probability or likelihood of occurrence of losses relative to the expected return on any particular investment. That's a layman's definition of investment. And that is actually paraphrasing the reason why we are battling with attracting investment into our areas. And this is made worse by the fact that townships have got their own unique and singularly difficult hurdles and obstacles to deal with before we get to attracting investment. It is obvious to us and many that safety and security of investors is paramount. And this talks to different levels of safety and security. It is about the investors themselves feeling that it is safe to go and invest, particularly in the townships and villages. It is not the same question, by the way, that is raised when an investment is to be considered in a different environment. The safety of tourists, as in this case, as well as clients that will enjoy the benefits of such investments, it is always a question. And I think the Maponya Mall must have debunked some of these stereotypes, because at the beginning of the Maponya Mall, there must have been a notion that especially serious investors, as defined by color, will have to wear helmets and have bodyguards to go and do business in Soweto. The fact that it doesn't happen until now, it's debunking this stereotype that in our townships, it's always dangerous. So we always start from a negative point of view. Whenever you're talking about an investment, if the ground is not level, you are always starting from a negative point of view. Obviously, investment and funding is a given for white businesses. But for blacks, it represents risk, and that's where it starts. It is also compounded by the fact that accessibility to funding is a challenge. And I'm talking about affordable funding here. I'm not talking just about investment. So funding
at an affordable rate is a problem. We also have the challenge of the ambiguous posturing by development funders. I don't see a lot of them here, so the propeller, it will be taking a little bit of a flag, but at the same time, we have learned from churches that you don't criticize the people that are already in church, criticize those that are outside of the church. So you're already here, we welcome you. However, let us make the point that there's a lot of posturing. There's a lot of ambiguity about exactly what it is that you want and how you want it. And then also going back to the legacy way of looking and assessing investment applications. Things have not changed. We are happy to welcome the big five or the big four banks in the room, but I think you have a long way to go as well, because you have not tailored your investment assessment to the townships and villages. It is still the same criteria that you apply for business applications in Sentin that you are bringing into the townships. No wonder you haven't made progress. So we also want to say politically, scale transformation is very important. We ask you to please put your money where your mouth is. And this should be demonstrated in various ways. We appreciate your presence in the room, but that's not good enough. Why? That's because you have an opportunity to legislate and legislate correctly. I find it embarrassing that in 2023, when an incident of a racial nature has happened, the ruling parties still toy to courts and say we are against this. People have forgotten the power of legislating. So you also have to legislate. If you are serious about it, put punitive measures around those who do not comply with legislation. Then you will see a change. We have said this several times, that the carrot and stick approach doesn't quite work because people have been eating the carrots. Use the stick only. Forget about the carrot. Don't reinvent the wheel and avoid working in silos. There is a lot of good intention in many instances, but the problem is that you all want to have the bragging rights. You all want to be the only ones that have done this, forgetting that if you consolidate your resources, you could have much more impactful results. Legislation for good includes the kind of things that are an impediment when smaller businesses are operating in villages and townships, your rates and taxes, all of those kind of things, your water rights, and all of the things that look small, the right of tenure on land. Most of the places that we're talking about, rural areas, do not have title deeds, but they do have what you call the right, the permission to operate. You cannot, many funding institutions are not keen to look at that. The only way it can happen is if our politicians can legislate for good and make sure that those kind of things are changed. There is a universal understanding about investment and risk. Universally speaking, the principle is no investment is without risk and no opportunity is guaranteed. So those of you who want to invest, keep this in mind. It's universal. Everywhere you go, your return on investment will always be doubted. Your return on investment will be a function of several things. But successful investing is about managing risk, not avoiding it. On the other hand, if we want to reflect on ourselves and say, is there a challenge that when we talk about others, we need to reflect on ourselves? I think I want to give you a few takeouts. The first one is a question that is realistic for us. Is there a real lack of bankable investment opportunities in our townships and villages? Because the banks are looking for bankable investment. And are we able to actually articulate proper business plans for that? Is there a shortage of business skills to run our businesses. Let us be honest about that. It doesn't help sometimes to have a lot of money invested in you when you cannot properly manage it. Are those investing in townships and villages exploiting the opportunity by charging higher interest rates, thereby reaping huge profits? Some may come looking like in good faith they are investing in our areas, but can we try and cross-check that? It is true to say risk and investment have to be hand in hand. So the higher the risk, the higher the returns people must get. But can we balance that so that at least we are not left behind so badly? Are the barriers for investment and funding artificially created, or are they real? And this is demonstrated by what I've said earlier on, the development funding organizations vis-a-vis the established banks. The established banks, ladies and gentlemen, are not actually designed for the kind of investments that we're talking about. Not quite yet. Standard Bank, Nedbank, ABSA, you're not quite there yet. Maybe there is a willingness, but I don't think you can tick all the boxes. So development funders are kind of the panacea for us. They are the solution for our investment. Maybe during this conference, we will be able to answer and respond to some of the questions that I've raised here. The key success ingredients for an investment conference, in my view, has to be, among others, the following. One, the ability to create a trading platform for product owners and potential investors to do business. What we've got here to my left, to my left and to my right are product owners and other type of businesses. So the success of an investment conference should be measured by the fact that we have been able to bring in people who are interested in investing here and people who are interested in expanding and funding their businesses. But in between, and the elephant in the room, is whether there is a willing funder for these investment opportunities that we're talking about. Bringing investors and potential funders who are prepared to look at opportunities with fresh eyes. People have been doing this for a long time, but nothing is changing. I think there's an expression that repeatedly doing the same thing again and again doesn't change the results, and that's where we are. Investors who are not risk averse, but those with an appetite for business opportunity and risk rewards. Those are the kind of people that we are investing to come here. Investors who are not preoccupied with ticking the transformation scorecard. You know, there are people who are looking at the smallest things that will help them to tick the box and say, we are actually playing in the transformation space. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for someone, not those who are going to avoid the risks that I have articulated, but those that are going to say, we want to take it. And in my conclusion, I would like to say, as Soweto and our members, we want to announce and open for investment. We're not talking about Soweto alone. I'm talking broadly speaking. We are tired of and cannot continue to be SMMEs and corner shops forever. We want to grow. So the only way you can grow is when you guys can invest. It is not a nice thing. Every year you are referred to as an SMME, a small business, and Papa and Mama business in the little corner. Majoses can attest to that. The time to invest in townships and villages, ladies and gentlemen, is now. And to those waiting for the right moment, please be advised, opportunities don't happen, you create them. Congratulations to Soweto Tourism for leading the pack. You're leading the pack because you are pioneering this initiative, our template for the rest of the country. And with that, I wish you the best investment conference.
Thank you so, so much, Chairperson of Soweto, Mr. Tulani Nzima. I think you know now that I was right. The introduction was absolutely apt. There's something that you said, which I think is a big takeout. I've even just posted it online. Successful investing isn't about managing risks. It isn't about avoiding risks. It's about managing them. And I think once those who are meant to invest in all of our businesses begin to understand that, then they understand that it's about co-creating, holding hands, and working together. This is the second Soweto Investment Conference, and we have an investment target to raise 1 billion rands worth of investment opportunities for the community, of course, but for brand Soweto. And for Soweto to begin to be seen as an investment destination, for people to stop being risk averse, but to really own up to how they can help us manage these risks, but continue to create opportunities. And to this end, I want to congratulate this particular venue. In fact, before I even introduce the Nasrec Expo Center's speaker, I want to say, I was sharing with everyone earlier how excited I am that we've been granted the license for the first time to be the custodians of Miss World here in South Africa. I am going to make, thank you very much, I'm going to make a bold declaration. So everyone who is aware of it is aware that I've been talking to, I won't say venues, but your Santons, your Rustenburgs, your you name it, all the places that seem obvious. Arising out of this conference, I promise you I'm going to go out of my way to find a way to host it here. Here, where I come from, in Soweto. We started the Mbogodo Awards some 11 years ago, and the inaugural one, I made the declaration that I would find a place that could host it in Soweto, and we opened it at the Jabulani Theatre. Nobody thought we could. We brought everything we could. What they said wasn't in Soweto, we brought to Soweto, because ultimately the people managing it outside of Soweto, in Santon and wherever else, come from Soweto. So we are the creators of all these things that we talk about lacking here. I boldly declare today that Miss World South Africa is going to be here. Allow me, please, to welcome the management of the center and the partners to the Soweto Tourism Conference, Nasrec Expo Centers, Mr. Hannes Venter.
Welcome to Soweto. Program Director, honorable guests, delegates, conference goers, exhibitors, small, medium, micro enterprise, entrepreneurs. It is a pleasure for us once again to welcome you at the second Soweto Investment Conference, hosted by the Johannesburg Expo Center and the GL South Africa Group. We are honored to be associated with you. We are also honored to be seen as one of the founder members of the Soweto Investment Conference, together with your present chairman, Tato. And we would like to see this grow from strength to strength, ma'am, and bring that Miss World International. We will willingly take your hand and walk the road with you. Thank you very much. May you have a successful conference, and may there be more than R1 billion worth of trading taking place, and let us see where we can take this conference to in the years to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So one of the things, I was not living in the country at the time, and I woke up one morning and I read an article in 2008 about the xenophobic violence that had taken hold in South Africa. And it was embarrassing for me as a foreigner in another country, reading about how my people did not want foreigners in our country. But you begin to drill down and talk to people. And I was flying into South Africa every second month because of my production, Motswako, on SABC. And coming in, talking to our people, I realized that something that has happened, which is happening in a little corner of South Africa, was being mischaracterized to make us seem as if we don't love our brothers and sisters from the continent. We are a 1.4 billion strong continent. When begin to work together, imagine the shifts that we can begin to make. The world is nervous. We're beginning to talk about the possibility of shunning the dollar and really beginning to define how we interact and transact with one another, determined by ourselves. When you shun the dollar, you're not being anti American, you're just being pro yourself. When you begin to say, let's have a conversation about how we help our people by growing that which is here, and I'm talking Africa when I talk about that, you're not being anti anyone. You're just remembering yourself in the equation. So, as we begin to do that, I want to say to our brothers and sisters that are in the room here, South Africans are not xenophobic. South Africans have elements of people who may be xenophobic, but we as a people love you. We love that we can learn from one another. We know what we can teach you. Let me start. Hey, it's a long list. But anyhow, there are a few things that we think when you come here, you must come here ready to learn from us. But at the same time, there is so much that we learn from you. How to scale businesses. I look at my brothers from Somalia who are not afraid. 6 o'clock, they're already unpacking everything every morning because they understand that to feed their families, you must wake up. Uzoyithola kanjani hlezi khoneni? Ngeke uyithole. So I say this, I preface this because I listened to you speak, my brother, our dear prince from Nigeria, the most educated African nation the last time I checked, and the most populous African nation as well. We welcome you. And I'm so glad to see you participate here. I am, of course, talking about from the Africa Diaspora Forum, Prince Debo Adesina. Yes, African royalty is within us today. Welcome.
Wow. So excited. After a wonderful, gorgeous looking woman, I think I'm excited. Yo, where am I going to start? You guys have said it all. I will start with on the existing protocol. My name is Prince Debo Adesina. I'm the brand ambassador for African Diaspora Forum and the founder of Nigerian Lives Matter. I'm a Nigerian, and I've been part of and parcel of this country for the last 2 decades. My children are South African. In fact, my late wife, who is half South African, half Portuguese, gave me the only 3 beautiful children that I'm proud to be father to. And I always say it boldly, whether on television, radio, any means of communication, I said, guys, whether you like it or not, we are here to stay. Whether you do xenophobia, whether you do Afrophobic, whether you do all sort of phobia that you can think of, we are here to stay. I'm seeing my children who are South African. They've only visited Nigeria maybe once in their lifetime, and they are 16, 17, 18. And you're telling me they are Maperequere or whatsoever you call that. So, I look at it as in we need to hold each other's hands. You know, there's one thing
we've not really talked about today. Love. You see, once we have the element of love, I promise you, inside this room, we might have 1.4 billion people in the same center because of love. But when there's disunity, no love, I promise you, even two people might not even stay well in this all. But I'll say to you, thank you for making this pronunciation or the announcement to make sure the beauty pageant going to be taking place in Soweto. I love Soweto. I remember many years ago, before after the before the South Africa got the independence in Nigeria, we have a, we had a lot of South African schooling with us, eating with us. I have some of them, they are advocates here. They were even called to buy in Nigeria. There are a lot of them. They want to showcase, but they're also afraid of their brothers looking at them to say, why are you guys protecting foreign nationals? I promise you, the word foreign national is designed by the foreign people in order to break us so that we cannot unite. But one thing I will tell you, there's a theme of 2023 of the African AU that said the free trade. That free trade, that's what I talked about at the legislature event on the 31st of May. I said, once we start doing that trading, which I'm seeing here, that is going to start from Soweto, we trade together. Nobody will stop us. Whether they like it or not, whether they build all those malls, we should remember one thing. Africans, we are used to that informal way of trading. Go to Lagos, you'll see it. But I will not talk too much about them. But there's something I just want to say. I want to put it like a way to motivate my brothers and sisters from Soweto to say, lately times have been tough. We have seen resources go down and workload go up. We have seen uncertainty rise. We have all sacrificed. We have given up time with our families. Our work has cut into our personal lives. We have lost our sense of balance. I know some of us come to work every day filled with fear and resignation or doubt. Meaning, if we can come together and do our, you see, when they talk about banking, I remember many years ago in Nigeria, coming from that royal small setting in Nigeria, they used to have a kind of banking within where we all put our money. We don't need to go to FMB per se. Sorry to say this. I just have to be very realistic to say we can put all our resources and start trading within. We trade. When you are doing bread, we make sure we buy bread from you. When you are doing this, we make sure we buy from you. I call it the Indian models. You see, my brother, I'm a practical Muslim. I see my brothers, the Muslims, they run things within the family. They make sure it works for them. Break them, or you like it, they'll come stronger. Please, guys, let us take that spirit of saying, oh, he's from Somalia, he's from wherever. No, all what we need to do now, and I'm ready to tell Tato. Tato, we spoke sometimes. You guys did not fulfill it. I was trying to showcase you guys on the international level to have something to say before the conference. There's a television that wanted to speak with you guys about the Soweto, but I know you have a lot of work you've been put in place. But don't miss such opportunity in future because they want to showcase Soweto. And the guy were like, let's bring them on board so that they can talk about Soweto. People knows what is Soweto, but they want to come down to Soweto. But guess what? The fear, oh, xenophobia. No, I'm here. I'm not with my bodyguards. I'm in the security space. I would have come with 2, 3 guys with guns and everything. But I know I can disappear here even when there's chaos. But I promise you, I know there's nothing like that. I drove free. I'm happy. I can tell you I'm not scared. I was seeing on the Nigerian social media, they say I've taken a risk going to Soweto. I'm reading. Why are you going? These are people that are trying to kill us. I said, no, somebody must take a lead. Then a brother of mine wrote to me, said, go and lead us. Tell them we love them and we continue to love them. So I'm preaching to you guys. That love should be what we should embrace. We as Nigerians, we as Africans, because I represent the migrant community, we are ready to transfer the beautiful skills that you think you are lacking. We transfer it to your people. Let's work today. Soweto, guys, I'm coming to set up. Just give me the space. We set up the African cuisine, egusi, jollof rice. We're even going to do jollof war here. Jollof war, where we teach people how to make jollof rice, where we tell people, eat Soweto jollof rice. One of the best in the world. Can we do something together? I think that's the spirit I brought here today. I'm so sorry. I'll not bore you guys because I can talk to you tomorrow. Being a seasonal politician, we talk, we converse, but I'll tell you today, coming from the bottom of my heart, I'm so excited to be here. Even though this place is not too friendly, I'm being shivering, cold. Ah, guys, warm it up for us so that we can get it right. Thank you so much. My name is Prince Debo Adeshina, the founder of LLM Security Services. We are ready to bring our wealth.
And I reiterate, we have a lot of the things that I grew up Morocco, and I know that Mama will be going, "Maitseo a bopile motho, o ikokobetse, ska rasa gore o mang." And it's ingrained in us that we don't praise ourselves. We don't talk about the great things that we do. We don't talk about our own greatness. And that's one of the things that I think we can learn, particularly from Nigeria. I mean, my dear Prince, you come here. We now know your business. We now know you're a politician. We now know that you come from a place that produces the best jollof, whereas I know that the Ghanaians might argue. but that's one of the things that I think we need to learn. When you do something and you do it well, talk about it. Talk about it. Tell others so they support you. This whole thing of humility is holding us back. They're all climbing and going ahead of us because Europe never trained their young to be humble. They trained them to be go-getters. Go out there, tell them what you're able to do. Make it happen, show them. Even when they don't support you, do it so that they can see it. And then they have no choice but to support. With that said, I'm going to just try and top him. I make the best bags South Africa has ever seen. They're here, I'll show you. I make the best bags. So Louis Vuitton, go there, get a jacket. But if you need a bag, come to me. If you need perfume, if you want to smell like fire, forget Gucci. Gucci for who? Carol Bauer. That's what you want. Okay? I'm learning from Nigeria already. Exactly. You don't have to set up the jollof rice place yet. As we continue with our program, so I know that I'm one of those people who was really looking forward to meeting the premier who I haven't been following much the work that he's been doing as a premier, but I'll tell you that when he was an MEC, he was one of the people I was always excited to see on television because he was enthused about his job. He was somebody who would speak passionately and get us all excited about just backing him. Sometimes when, he would make us buy the coal that we already have and take us all to Newcastle and get us to get more because he is a man of passion, he's a man of action. And I was very disappointed that he couldn't make it. But in my disappointment, I am so glad that he's sent a replacement that I think is just as exciting to listen to. We had interactions in the holding room earlier on, and when I listened to Ndate, he shares a name with my late father, Dumisani, Ndate Dumisani Takile, who is representing Premier Banyaza Lusufi today here. I hear the passion of somebody who has worked his way up the system. Somebody who has been in the trenches, has lived here with us in Soweto and knows when we talk about things, these are not constructs that he cannot relate to. These are things that he's lived with the people, he's been with the people. Allow me, please, to enthuse you to just really give him a warm round of applause and to make sure that we never lose him when the Premier does not show up. May you continue to show up for us, sir. What a pleasure to welcome Mr. Dumisani Takile, who is going to be talking to us about township economic development and the act therefore. And I'm going to ask you to allow me to just scrub the tea break After him, we will continue with the program a little bit because we're trying to catch up. Do I have your permission to do that? Fantastic. Over to you, sir. What a pleasure.
Good afternoon. I'm just honored to share the stage with such knowledgeable people. Program director, I haven't thought in my life that I will hack you. And thanks to the organizers. I can also brag in the township that I had hacked you. I guess we are behind time, so if I will have to just give the salutation, it will be quite very long. So I will just say, as others say, all protocol observed. I'm just honored to join you and give this keynote address on the occasion of the Soweto Investment Conference. I think, as the program director has indicated, that some of you may know, but others may not know, that the Premier has left the country and he's engaged on a number of other activities precisely to try and promote the Gauteng province as the province for investment, and more particularly the investment in what you would call the working class townships, what is called the black communities. So, program director, I think I'm much more excited that we will be speaking about the Township Economic Development Act. And I think the Premier is quite very passionate about this concept. And I'm quite certain that wherever he is now, he feels and he misses for him to be able to address this occasion. I think this is the second conference. We delegated last one of our very dynamic MEC, MEC Tao, our former mayor, to come and address yourselves here. And I think it was quite a robust engagement. And I think at that particular time it was towards the process of now beginning to take the bill at that particular time to the legislature. And I think we can be proud also to say, not even a single political party in Gauteng opposed that particular bill. So it had an overwhelming support in the entire legislature. Even people that we thought that, no, these ones might not vote for it, the Freedom Front, we can indicate that they supported that particular act. Because I think they understood the methodology that has been involved and how thorough we were in relation to a formulation of that particular act. And I think that this act echoes the central vision of the Gauteng provincial government as captured in our vision called Growing Gauteng Together 2030 vision, which as the key, it says government can't on its own build this province, but it needs to partner with all the sectors in the society, business, civil society, trade unions, the churches, everyone else must get involved in building this particular province. And GG32 will be implemented and accelerated in this administration. And we have identified as part of that process key priorities, which we call the elevated priorities. In terms of this particular elevated priorities, it is nothing else but it's about bettering the lives of the residents with a special focus more on township, and we named it TISH. So when you hear a construct or an abstract thing, it's about what it is that we do townships, what is that we do in our informal settlement, what is that we do in the hostels. It is on this basis that we think that GPG remains committed in ensuring that we have got an inclusive, sustainable economic development and growth But it can't just be growth for the sake of growth. It must be growth that stimulates employment. It must be a growth that stimulates empowerment. You can't have a growth that is jobless. You can't have a growth that does not empower our people. That will be the growth that will be only for a certain few people. There are certain key programs that we have developed in that particular process. And key among them is that we must be able to revitalize our township economies, ensure that there's decent employment and inclusion in economic sectors. But more importantly, program director, you can't also speak about the economic growth. You can't speak about employment if we are not going to be able to make sure that it is focused and it is targeted. In the main, it must target women. So our view is that in this particular program, women must be the main beneficiaries of this particular program. And you can't talk about growth and development if you are not going to be able to target the youth. You know, in the morning it was said, in the entire continent, youth constitute about 70% of this population of the African continent. And if you look about how, therefore, the legacy of apartheid impact our society, go and look at the state of our young people. And you'll be able to understand why it is so key and important that whatever programs of government, if they are not going to be able to say, how are we taking women forward and how are we taking young people forward, the premarital fact says, we are not talking to me. We have sent department back to go and rework their programs, and they must come back to us and present something that says, this is what we are going to do on the empowerment of youth, and this is what we are going to do on the empowerment of women. In our view, that this particular act called TIDA, it is a very great potential to revolutionize our township spaces as commercial hubs, contribute to the reindustrialization process, as well as unlocking the potential of the SMMEs. Indeed, we cannot underestimate the critical role that SMMEs can and should play in stimulating economic growth, facilitating job creation, and addressing spatial inequalities. Program Director, I wish to focus on this address on reporting on progress made with regard to the implementation of the TITA, given its singular importance in transforming the township economic space. So we're no longer theorizing that this is what we want to do. We want to report to yourselves as the MEC was here last year and now, what are the things that we've managed to achieve thus far? As stated by the provincial address, among these in the township bill is to infill the residential and commercial. In this regard, we are providing legal framing for the township backyard retail real estate initiative, including provision to establish township commercial precinct in areas targeted for precinct level backyard real estate upgrades. So this thing you would a room just for the sake of a room program director, it can't be. In our view, that is a great potential for ensuring that it empower our people, for them to be able to provide and participate in the real estate. We're also implementing the installation, repair, and maintenance program, in terms of which contractors are gaining market access, while we are also providing work experience for the installation, repair, and maintenance technician. As a way of empowerment, the install, repair, maintain contracting hubs are linked to 40% of GPG maintenance budget. So we're not just saying that the private sector must do it, but as Gauteng government, what we're saying that in terms of our budget, we want 40% of the budget being given to our people. We believe that in addition, government continues to leverage the township retail funding to help grow emerging enterprises. Some of the cross-sectoral intervention by the provincial government departments include procurement aggregation, using township economic zonal portal bulk supply opportunities. Let me try to explain this thing in reality. What does it mean? If you're going to take an institution, just for example, one of it, if you can take the Baragwanath Hospital, just imagine the budget of Baragwanath Hospital. Program Director, you may not be aware of this, that just only the budget of Baragwanath Hospital alone equal in certain instances half of the budget of the northern province. Just Baragwanath on its own. And the point that we're raising that whether we like it or not, patient in Baragwanath Hospital every day eat eggs. But where do we source those eggs? Patient in Baragwanath Hospital every day eat meat. Where does that meat come from? So for us, there's quite a very great potential. If you can go to Baragwanath Hospital now and you look at the linen of the patients there, where do it come from? Who manufacture it? So we believe that as the state, there is a great contribution that we can make to provide access to the market, to the cooperatives, and to our people. But the question that arises, are our people in Soweto ready for that? So, our Department of Economic Development has engaged on a program, among others, to begin to identify who are those people or the business people that can be able to assist us in driving that particular procurement. Because we're saying also, among other things, as part of this particular act, we want government institutions, all departments, to procure all of their resources that they consume, 60% of it in terms of their budget in the townships. And we have tasked the Department of Treasury to develop mechanisms. In actual fact, in the next 2 weeks, we are going to the cabinet to receive the report as to how many of them that are ready. But one of the fundamental problems is that ourselves, in particular as blacks, we allow to be used by white people and we front. And that set us back. So we want to, among other things also, ensure that we've got a credible data of these particular businesses that as the state that we are procuring from. And they must be verified. And we are not necessarily that we are xenophobic, but we believe that first and foremost, you can't go out and feed other people. You can't go and feed the children of other families while your own children are hungry. So, we understand that we're the economic hub, and everyone in the country has a vested interest in Gauteng. But it can be that someone from Sisiko must be beneficial, while someone from Soweto is not benefiting from government contracts. It can be. So we can't have someone from Somalia operating our spaza shops, but our own people in Soweto are unable to trade. It can be. That is not xenophobic. So this is what the act, among others, it is trying to do. The next area that we are focusing upon is in relation to what we call the taxi economy. If you look at the value chain of the taxi economy, it is. But if we can go and drill down, where do they source their tires, the brake pads, the oils, and many other what you call variables? And you look as to whether the taxi industry itself is it benefiting. From where we are, we don't think so. It is on those bases that the Premier has said we need to begin to build what we call the taxi industry of the future and the taxi ranks of the future. And we are quite excited by the work that has been done by the Department of Transport in that regard. We think that probably by the end of September, we'll be able to unveil some of the key projects, Baragwanath Hospital is the first project that we want to go and launch this particular concept. Because we believe that it is not just about the transportation, but it has also other sectors of the economy that we can be able to stimulate, and the people in Soweto must benefit out of that particular node. The next area, program director, that we think that we need to also report upon is around the issue of crime in our townships. It is on those bases that the Premier has went out and recruited 6,000 wardens. And these wardens are not people from any other provinces, are people from Gauteng. We have taken 2 people per ward. It was a very intense recruitment process. And we believe that now they are being ready to be deployed, because tourism can't succeed if crime is in the manner in which it is in our township. Our tourists are being marked day in, day out. And therefore, this particular 6,000 of the wardens will be able to help us in this particular regard. But one other area that the Premier is also engaged on first week of July, we are convening an energy indaba, because load shedding has a serious dent on the prospect of the growth of the SMMEs. And we believe that we do have solutions now. We have went out on a tender to everyone. And we believe that people have been able to provide us, including the SMMEs, on what type and kind of solutions that they think that can be able to be undertaken in order for us to be able to resolve this issue of load shedding. Gauteng can be able to do that. We are saying, for example, we want to partner with City Park, and City Park to become our agent. And we're not just talking about these things, but we're also putting resources in that regard. On this financial year, we have allocated 1.2 billion rand for us to engage with the private sector to resolve this issue of energy. And I always make an example. I can't understand why Soweto must be in such a crisis. Why Soweto must be load shedded. If you go down here, the Soweto Tower, that is just sitting there, idling, doing absolutely nothing. So as part of this program to intervene and address the issue of load shedding, we believe that government must take back that particular city power, and we must be able to invest in it and make sure that we resolve, among other things, the problems of load shedding in the province. In conclusion, program director, there's quite a lot that the Premier wanted to talk about, but because it's a lot of time, I'll just skip many of other things. As I conclude, I think we need to be able to remind ourselves that key of our program is the National Development Plan, which provides a framework within the policy orientation of government, and therefore, GPG has formulated its own policies in order to effect this NDP. South Africa needs to build a more equitable society where opportunities is not defined by race, by gender, by class, or by religion. And we believe that NDP, among other things, provide us with an effective partnership to galvanize the society, for us to be able to raise confidence, increase investment and high employment, and raise productivity and incomes that can be generated. TIDA is one of the greatest expressions of the NDP. I am confident that working with partners and focusing on groups which has been historically excluded from the economic participation in our country will turn our province around. In this regard, I wish the 2023 Soweto Investment Conference well and look forward to future collaboration with the GPG. We have, among others, GEP that is here, the CEO is here, the Gauteng, the GGGA CEO is also here, and we believe that there's going to be details in terms of what he's going to unveil and share with yourselves on some of the things that we need to do. And we're saying we don't want to speak a lot, director. What we want to do is to go to the ground and make a difference. And if you can't make a difference in Soweto, forget that will make any difference in the entire republic. Amandla.
You know, this is a sign of impeccable leadership. I always say that a good leader will be well liked, but you have to be able to show us that you are not afraid to surround yourself with people who are as incredible as you are. Thank you so much for that address. Really, really appreciate it. Thank you, Tata Dumisani. Clearly, the Premier is not afraid to have people who are as powerful around him. So when we can't find him, when we can't call him to account, just know that we now know who you are and we shall be coming for you. I see GP nodding. Don't nod, darling. I just heard them say that you don't respond, but I know you do. I must say, when we know that you're in the room, I think everybody wants you on that stage to hear from you. So I hope that later on in the day you will be addressing. Thank you all so much. So this is going to be, I know that we really are keeping you from your lunch plates, which I'm sure are delicious. No jollof, but I'm sure Mnusho is there. One more address that we're going to have. We feed our minds before we begin to feed our stomachs. And unfortunately, the mayor was not able to be here with us. But again, I think we have a worthy replacement. And I can say that confidently because I did hear him speak when we were engaging earlier. Ntate Lisiba Lamola is an advisor to the MMC, to the Mayoral Council. Am I correct in saying that? To the mayoral council. And yeah, I think that I hope government takes lessons from the Soweto Tourism Conference. If you're not going to show up when you know that we really want to see you, send the best of the best. So we can't wait for your address. And after that, lunch is going to be served. I shall direct you as to where to go. So let's not all rise at the end of the address because I know that we all are aware that we have reached lunchtime. Thank you so much. Do address us. Ntate Lamola.
Kere, arle kana kere. Ai. So ona le ba batelele and then ona le ba ba baholo kere. Earlier on while we were in the holding room, I spoke English so that those who were with me can know that I'm able to speak English. But here, I'm encouraged to speak one of our African languages, which is Sepedi, so that everybody can know, can understand what we are saying or what I'm here for. But before I go any further, let me introduce myself again. My name is Lisibana Lamola, strategic advisor in the MMC's Office Development Planning. Actually, program director. I'm not here to speak on behalf of the mayor, but earlier this morning, the MMC called me that he's not going to be able to come. But I was coming with her here. Her name is Eunice Mutlina. But unfortunately, other agent matters relating to her work lines caught her off guard, and that's why she's not here. I did not prepare anything because I knew very well that the MMC will be speaking. But what I learned is that the MMC told me that on the speaking list is going to be tomorrow. That is what she told me, that I will be speaking tomorrow on Friday. But because I'm here, let me say we are from development planning. And development planning, there is no way that you can build the city like Johannesburg without having a department like development planning. Because that is where you start with your building plan. That is where you start with how you want the city to look like. And then it works hand in glove with the economic development. Because anything that you do from economic development, you want to build something, a mall, you want to build anything, it must first go to development planning so that they can check as to whether the space is good for it or not. So like I said earlier on, the most important tool or the most important thing that we South African today that we must acquire is to make sure that we're economically liberated. And I'm happy, but again worried, program director. Protocol-wise, I cannot come and speak here after the provincial leadership have spoken. That is the protocol I know. But because you called me, I'm not the one who will be in danger. It will be the program director. You see, when you are in a space of economy, Chair, you must be able to utilize it. Because if you don't utilize it, somebody will go out and utilize that particular space. Selling tomatoes, selling bread, selling anything that it takes you or that brings you in the streams of economy is something that we must make sure that we master. Our African brothers, every day they come here in South Africa. They see opportunities that we South African, we don't see. And after seeing those opportunities, when they unleash them, then we begin to say they're taking the job from us. So I'm here to encourage you to make sure that anything that you see that it can bring you economical power, let's use it. You improve when you go forward. Because if you don't do that, someone is going to utilize it. And the time you see this person is going up or is actually becoming successful, then you begin to worry. But out of all these things that I'm saying, it's love. Somebody told me last week, there was 3 old guys. The other one's name, somebody might have seen it. The other one's name is success. The other one is wealth. The other one is love. So now, a wife and a husband saw them sitting next to their house. Then they approached them. They say, okay, what are you doing here? I said, no, we're just resting. So who are you? Then the one said, no, I'm love. The other one said, I'm wealth. The other one said, I'm success. He said, okay. The husband and the wife said, but we invite you. But he said, no, but if you can invite us, you cannot go same time into your house. You have to invite one. The wife and the husband went to their house, deciding who they can invite. The wife said, but why can't you take wealth? The husband said, but success. In success, there is everything. Then ultimately, the husband said, I know, let's take love. Then he said, no, love, come in the house. Then all of them, the 3 of them, remember they said, we cannot come into a house, all of us. But he said, no, love, can you please come to us? Because when you have love, obviously you have everything. All of them, the 3 of them, march into the house. Then they asked, why are you coming together? I said, no, where there is love, there is everything. So now, what is important is to make sure that we love each other so that we can be economically developed. I thank you, Program Director.
When you are a speaker that did not even prepare and you come here and you dish out such wisdom, and truly where there is love, there is everything that we need. Yeah. I loved, when I was young and sprightly, I used to present a show which was about finding love called Buzz. It was the #1 show in South Africa for 5 years running. That's how brilliant I was. but I love the fact that it was followed by a show called All You Need Is Love, done by Hlomla Dandala. And that title for me is something that really speaks to who we are as a people, Soweto. We know when we were growing up, but back next then Ntate Mputi, I mean, we used to buy from your stores. You bought more than what you needed because you knew, you know, you're in a street that has different needs. Different families have different needs. We are a loving people. Let's not allow our current conditions to change us as a people. At our core, we are the ones that told the world about Ubuntu. Now everyone's coming back and telling us about Ubuntu because we seem to be lacking it. I really, really want to thank all of our speakers for all the wisdom imparted this morning. We are going to be taking a break and having some lunch. Ntate Lamula ra leboga. As we go to take our lunch, I think this is the end of my involvement with the program. It has been such a privilege to spend the morning with you. It's been such a privilege go kgutlela mo gae, go tlo ithuta le batho ba mo gae. We're going to be taking lunch. I'd like to invite all the delegates to join us. We're going to towards the left, Kosi. I think we're going to be following Kosi to where we're having lunch. And then, of course, our speakers, I'd like you please to just follow Mbali, who's going to be taking you back to the holding room, not because we are eating different sets of food, but because we need to brief you before you start the program. So, Ralekanamo, everyone is a VIP, and I think that's what I love about the township from which I come. But in order for you to be briefed accordingly for what is to come, we need you back at the holding room. Thank you for the most incredible morning. I wish that Sawubona Music Jam was still on there because I think that's the best day to go out and have our lunch. Bon appetit, everybody. What a pleasure to be with you. Your moderators, as you return, are going to be two very impressive leaders. Dr. Levi Matobijane, who is a specialist in education, but also from our interactions earlier, I realized you're a specialist also in tourism. So I cannot wait to listen. I'm not going to be running away. I'm going to be sitting here listening. I'm excited that the other moderator is going to be Johnny Muteba. Bienvenue, Johnny. It's been amazing listening to you and your leadership and all your knowledge around a sector where I thought I was a specialist. I can't wait to see the films that you're going to be creating. But importantly, on a formal basis, he is the Pan-African Chamber of Commerce CEO, a chairman, and we will be learning from them as they introduce all our other speakers. What a privilege. Have a beautiful day. Ke leboga thata. Go le menagane. You know how our parents used to tell us not to rush our food? Chew slowly, take your time. O tlo kgamega. Well, this is the day that this mother of one is telling all of you that let's eat faster. I'm being instructed to ask everybody to be back here in half an hour if you can. So, Dish, let's just get our food in, let's come back and try and catch up on the program. It's been a privilege, everyone. My name is Carol Bauer, and it's really just a privilege to have been with you. Take care.
I'm going to be with you shortly.